Hey, what is up everybody, Blades for here, and today for you guys another video of Persona 5X. Inside today's video, guys, we're going to be making another tier list here, this one primarily for the global in, and this is going to be going over every last character. So if you guys are interested in this, be sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. And as always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's get straight into it. Now, how we're doing this tier list is purely off the character's kit as well. I'm going to try to keep at least 2 of each role out of the out of each tier, unless they truly do belong there. Other than that, I'm trying at least to keep them into separate different tiers. So for example, we have characters like Joker, and we also have characters like S Closer. Both of them are amazing. They will be in the same tier if they're like, for S, for example, they'll be in the same tier there. But if it was for finding out who's going to be an SS tier, I would have to put one of them above the other. Mainly because SS tier, I'm going to try to keep at least only 1 character of each role inside of it, while S tier and down will probably have multiple. But we'll see how it does work out. I do have reasonings for these guys, but first we're going to knock out the 4 stars because those are pretty easy and I don't really have to explain all too much until we get to the higher end. So first things first, messing around with the D tier, I automatically say out of all the 4 stars that are out right now, the lowest of the low is going to be Mont and Closer. Both of these characters don't have a use pretty much at all in the game. Mont dealing just absolutely low of the low type damage that you can easily just use Florette to deal way more than anything early game. And then Closer just not having a rifle spot. Closer herself, it seems more of a character that's meant to be like, she wants to be a DPS, but she also has too many buffing, debuffing categories with her, which is what makes her hard to really rely on. Her damage output is just really low, so I wouldn't really put her too high here. And overall, she's more or less trying to do too much, but does not have the hit to really do what she can do. So obviously I have her in D tier, but that's going over the D tier for the 4 stars here. Let's go ahead and go past our next one, being the 4 stars inside C tier. For the C tier type characters here, these ones are obviously better than the lower 2, and that's going to be my man Sepia. I'm going to end up putting obviously Cattle down here, Puppet, and then I think the other 2 is going to be Moko and Key. Now I know some people are going to get mad at me for saying Moko here, because Moko could technically, arguably, could be in B tier. But the reason why I'm not putting Moko up any higher is because in general, we really don't use this character. If you really do need a buffer of anything, you could very well use Haruna, which is Riddle, a 5-star version. And I think she's around the B tier area or A tier area. So I think Moko staying down here in the C range is definitely a good way to place her. Does what she needs to do, definitely better than the other 2 down there. DPS wise, Sepia here does more damage than them 2 down there as well. And he does at least play his role pretty darn perfect. As for Cattle and Key, both of these characters are really good, but the only problem with them is you have so many other healers in Cattle wise that's going to be there. So I think Cattle can just stay where he is, while Key himself has only like 3 debuffers in the game, and this man is the worst of the worst. He's not ultra bad to the point I would put him in D tier, but he is bad enough to put him in C tier area, but still can be a little bit usable in certain fire circumstances. So it's the only reason that he kind of sits here. But yes, this is literally where I'm going to end up placing him. So we'll see how this goes. Now for the B tier little selection here, we have a couple 4 stars that are going to be in this area. For one of the B tiers that I believe deserves to be here, this is going to be Yuki. Now Yuki here, we only use her in certain circumstances, such as just the Yusuke team. He very well is a good character with her regular kit, allowing you to of course get some defensive capabilities and shields off, which is always nice, but it isn't anything too stellar. Okyan is going to be the other one joining her in the B tier area, and the reason why I have her here is because all we're getting out of this is mainly the attack buffing, but what puts her above Puppet here a little bit more so is the attack buffing helps a lot along with the EHR buffing. We're starting to have a character, aka Haru, who actually can utilize this as well, and her kit isn't all too bad. She is our first offensive 4-star Navi, and I would say it's pretty darn worth it. Now some people are probably going to fight me for this because of course I put Puppet lower than of course Okyan here, but I'll be honest, with the certain things that meta's happening right now and certain characters that we having, Okyan is going to be most likely more useful than Puppet. There's characters that need attack related stats, which if you don't have any other navies to use, she does provide. There's characters that of course need EHR related stats like Mesa and Haru. Since of course Puppet doesn't provide this, she can provide it, making her a little bit better. People are gonna get mad at me over this, but it's just the truth, you guys. I'm sorry, I hate to place it that way. All right, so now we're gonna get to the A tier for our 4 stars. A tier wise, the ones I believe belong here is going to be Florette as well as Soy. Both of these characters are amazing, and then lastly is going to obviously be Rico. All 3 of these characters are going to be very helpful. They get the job done perfectly. Rico being the most offensive 4-star that we do have for the navigator side, who helps out on debuffing as well as offensive natures. Then of course we have Soy, who does debuffing, who has sustainability, who's able to defense shred like crazy. So I think this is where he really belongs. The only reason why he is not a little higher is because of recently getting cherished. Now, of course, some people could probably argue he deserves to be in S tier, but I don't think any defender belongs in S tier. And I think the only defender that belongs in SS is just going to be cherished off their basic hit. So I think this is probably going to be perfect for him to stay in that little middle ground. So Florette here, he does way good, or at least he does good enough to stay in the A tier area. I think if he wanted to be higher, he very well could, but this is probably the best place that he should be at now. And I think as we go on through time, this will definitely be a good place to just keep him here. Pretty decent character here. He does a lot of single target damage with multi-hit factors, and it's what really makes him work so well. All right, and now we are getting to the final areas, being the S tier and the SS tier. Just gonna do them both at the same time. Leon is going to be the S tier as a stellar freaking buffer, one of the buffers that we still use in all the teams on global currently, which is awesome. Other than Ford, you're usually going to be using this dude as your buffer, so he automatically is staying inside of the S area. And then the last one is going to be Vino inside of the SS area. This character is quite literally the #1 person to be used along Makoto. He does all different types of element accuracy decreases, defense decreases, and she's a single target debuffer that really helps with just straight up peeling off defense on the enemy. It also allows you to increase their damage taken. So I mean, like, Vino is a really good prospect to keep at the top, who actually dethrones Rin in most cases as a debuff. So I would say this character definitely belongs where she belongs here in the SS tier area. But now we've gotten past all the 4 stars here. Let's start wrapping it up and going to the 5 stars. Starting with the bottom one being C tier, there's only one 5-star here, and y'all are gonna hate me for it, but that is the man Morgana. Much like, of course, Cattle here, Morgana doesn't do much for the team anymore, and at this point in time, since we have 2 other healers that are absolutely stellar, both him and Cattle are on the same playing field, where they kind of excel at one thing. Cattle himself is helping out with attack and also burns, while obviously with Morgana, he's just overhealing, which we no longer need at all, and then he's only proccing a windswept. So at this point in time, both of them only have 2 valuable factors to them, and with the other 2 healers that are in the game, they're just starting to get left behind and aren't being used as much at all anymore. So I think both of them do value being in the C tier, Morgana being our first 5-star in the C tier area. Moving up to the B tier, we do have a couple characters who do belong here, or at least I want to say, actually, yeah, I do want to say both of these characters are gonna get moved up in A. I had them on my notepad as B, but if I'm being honest and I'm looking at the characters inside of A, I don't think any of the 5 stars really belong inside the A tier. I mean, in the B tier itself. So I say both of these characters, immediately skipping past the B tier area, I would say both of them belong in A, and that's going to be An as well as Ryuji. Currently, both of these characters do have a lot of uses. They are actually able to be used quite often. And even though An's AoE is a little bit lackluster now, seeing that we have Haru, we have as closer, both of those characters are way higher than her, meaning they're not even going to be touching the A tier section. So having her in this middle ground area is definitely a good one to place. As for Ryuji, he pretty much hits even harder than Florette, but I don't think he's hard enough at hitting single targets to be put above like maybe Yui or even Mesa at times. He does deal that 1 burst damage, which is way harder hitting than them 2, but that is a burst damage move. While the other 2 themselves, they can hit not only just a huge plethora of damage, but they have damage over time type aspects, or Mesa himself has a damage over time aspect that kind of boost him a little bit higher than Ryuji for now. Once, of course, when we get Ange or Ange in the future, who is going to be the anniversary unit, this might change later down the line, but currently with the meta how it is right now, I think both of these two characters do belong in the A tier function. Now, the other character who's also going to be joining them, or the other two characters who are going to be joining them, because I refuse to place them in the A tier or the S tier area, is obviously going to be Haruna, as well as what is it called? It's obviously going to be Haruna and Yusuke. Both of these characters are awesome, but the only problem with them two is one is only going to be excelling into the AoE function, and it's only going to be when we need ice defense related stuff. And he kind of gets bound here. If he was an attack related character and had more attack related stats, he definitely would be a high rated character. But the fact that he is not in that little function kind of puts him below the ball. As for Haruna, I did say on my notepad that I wanted her to be B tier, but the only downside with keeping her there is just she's the only character who can give you the buffs that you're really looking for, comparing to at least Moko here. And there's not really a huge middle ground when it does come down to her buffing. So I probably am going to keep her in the A tier area. She most likely does deserve this spot. I want to say if anyone wants to argue with me on that one, please do down below in the comment section, because I think if she's not staying in the A tier function, I think her buffs and everything that she does contribute to the game is probably going to keep her at the tip top of B tier. But any higher is definitely not happening for this character, because even with them two contributing what they contribute, none of them are really worth it. Now, going to the S tier pretty quickly here, we have a couple people joining them, and I'm gonna have some legitimately responses here. First one getting joined up into the S tier is going to be Joker, and the main reason for this is because Joker is still a very hard hitting, heavy hitting AoE DPS as we know it here himself. The man is able, well, he's the only AoE curse DPS out that's right now, and he's able to get an additional turn, which allows him to deal extra damage. There's not many characters that are able to do this, and it does actually help out your tactics as well as anything that you're trying to do inside of this aspect, getting that extra increased damage, being able to grant some stacks to get you even more damage, as well as just dealing crazy amount of damage to AoE related mobs. I think this is a great one to actually keep inside of this area. He's also very flexible depending on what enemies you're fighting as well. So I think he belongs in the S tier function, and joining him is going to be S Closer. Now, although S Closer does hit a little bit harder than him, he doesn't hit hard enough to go into the SS tier area, because that is a whole different just ballpark that she ends up going into. But for the S tier area, she kind of stays in this little area because I think she's pretty darn good at what she does. She no longer has to get over healing anymore. She does a lot more damage with the buffs that they end up giving her. And now with all the things that end up being buffed with, she can easily hit her HP stack. She can easily get all of her offensive things that she needed to have immediately done. And she's generalistically usable. This character, seeing how she is, you're pretty much fine with keeping her in the S tier function. And even if you put her in like a survival related type aspect, she will do really well. She does this better than Joker, but it's just still not enough to put her in that one tier above. So I thought getting her in the S tier function is actually a good suggestion. But you guys let me know how you feel about that. Now, obviously, that is both of our AoE DPSs here. We're gonna move on to like our debuffer, seeing there's only one up here, and that's gonna be Rin. Rin obviously does perform way better than Key. You're only going to use her in certain circumstances where you need an AoE debuffer. Hence the reason where she's down lower than Vino, because in all honesty, even for an AoE debuffer, sometimes you could just easily just use Vino and get way more out of it. The thing about Rin is, even though she's pretty decent at AoE debuffing, she kind of dies off very quickly, and she only helps out with debuffs, damage taken, and her other thing is mainly going to be proccing a forget on the enemy. The problem with using that forget is it doesn't always proc. It's a kind of 50-50 chance at times, and versus certain mobs it also won't proc too much as well. So with this in mind, it's going to be a little bit of a problem. And then of course the main issue with her is she needs to have a ton of speed to really perform. As good as she is compared to Vino, who doesn't need like all that speed to perform, Rin does, and that makes it overly hard to actually contribute with her other stats. So I think keeping her at the S tier area is pretty decent. Alongside that, mainly her damage boost effects like aren't really too great. I think like on a 2-turn cooldown, so it's very short to actually go ahead and use them. So I mean, it's just not worth putting her up any higher, and I think she's only going to get lower as the time does go on. Now going ahead and checking out the next characters that we're going to put in the S tier function, or next two characters that we're going to put in the next two functions here, is going to be Mesa as well as Yui. Now both of these characters are pretty darn good. They're amazing characters, but the only problem with them is both of them are lacking what Makoto has, with Makoto dealing just a bunch of damage without actually having to rely on a ton of characters other than Vino. And even then she doesn't have to do that anymore, seeing that they changed her hit a little bit. These two have to rely on their teams a lot. For Mesa to perform perfectly in a DOT manner, you need him to have a team that helps him out on EHR rate. For Yui to perform absolutely perfect, you need a team that really does consist not only on her crit rate values, but defense stripping to a point that's absolutely irregular. Hence the reason why we use Soy. Both of these characters, as good as they are, they're just starting to lack a little bit what the other single target characters have, putting them on a little bit of a lower pedestal compared to Makoto. With this in mind, I put them in at least the S tier function, which I thought was a good place to actually have them. And then we're going to go ahead and move on to our next character being in the S tier area. Now the last character who belongs in the S tier area is going to be Phoebe, and the main reason why I'm saying this is because we finally have Futaba inside of the game. So unfortunately, Phoebe's usage is going to slowly die out, and as time does go on, she's going to continue dying out from that period forward. Now, don't think that Phoebe's any bad or anything like that. The thing is that she does require a couple of dupes to actually go ahead and work, and she needs to make sure that whenever you're using multiple of the same element, that's how you get the best out of her performance. If you're not going to be going for dupes, you have to hardcore abide by this rule, and that's what really lowers her usage even more so. With the mechanics that she also has, it kind of makes her a little bit hard to use with a bunch of different teams without absolutely just obeying that same element factor. So I thought S tier was a good place to place her. Now going to our superstars here, we're going to go ahead and place these guys on down, starting with both our AoE DPS and our single DPS, and that is going to be Haru as well as Makoto Nijima. Both of these characters are freaking stellar units, hitting some crazy damage markers here. And on the point of both of them getting buffed, Haru only got stronger with her skill 1 and skill 3, making her just undeniably the best character in the game right now for AoE DPS. And then of course, with changing the kit for Makoto Nijima, she became more self-reliant on herself. Really, she didn't have to rely on anyone else. She could just handle it herself. She can now put obviously a ton of ailments on the enemy, which it makes it way freaking easier for her to just prosper. And then she obviously has just the damage to pay the bills here. This is probably one of the first characters that you can get a 1 million hit off pretty easily with, especially if she's really well built. Getting 1 mil on her is pretty darn awesome, and you don't even need to have a ton of dupes on her to perform this. So seeing something like this being a feat already, and compared to the other single targets that we do have in the game right now, is actually insane. So I think both of these characters deserve their place in the SS tier. As for the next two characters that we're going to be adding in here, a defender and a supporter here, that is going to be Cord and Cherish. Now Cherish, as much as he's not used for at all, he is a standard character, he's still stellar in the defense category, hence the reason I put him up here. Alongside with him being a really good defender, he does actually provide some nice things such as like damage bonus, helping out on freezing the enemy, taunting, and some hefty shields. This character, if I'm just looking at him for his kit, is an SS tier character, though is he a character that a lot of us are going to pull for? Probably not. As for Cord, she is the character that is just absolutely insane. They gave her a little bit of a buff, which helped her out a little bit more on her buffing rate for attack percentage. But another thing that makes this character so good is she can heal, sustain you a little bit. She can also help you out with crit rate. She can help you out with obviously damage bonus. And the most thing here is highlight spamming. This is a huge deal, especially inside of P5X right now with the meta, as well as just regular old generalistic type stuff here. So I feel like her being in the SS tier just makes way more sense rather than putting Leon or any of the others guys up this far. I'm pretty sure no one's really going to deny me on this one here. So her being SS tier just makes so much sense. Then obviously we have our two healers who I did decide to put in the same factor. because they both do excel in certain ways, both of them being Marion as well as Swimsuit Moko or Seaside Moko. Both of these characters are insanely good. Marion providing a ton of healing, is able to take off debuffs, and as well is able to give you a pin bonus if you have her A1, which a lot of people end up going for. She is a amazing healer. Now, I only said I want to put at least one of each role inside of here, but this is probably one of the few exceptions that I will do. That's because both of these healers are so neck and neck, or at least their tiers, that I do believe they belong on the same playing field. For Moko here, she's now starting to get used by the most busted team in the game, as well as with Mesa when he's still around as well. And she helps out with damage taken. She's able to, of course, give you ailment accuracy. She's able to even help you out on the heals that you really do need by also boosting your attack with the EHR that you have, and then defense decreasing. So with the buffs they gave her, as well as to the buffs for her weapons now, she's able to be way more useful than she used to be, but still is on that same playing field as Marion. If they end up giving her another buff, I can easily see Marion being lower, but with the current things that we have going on, obviously team usage that's happening and just their basic hits, both of these characters definitely belong in the SS tier. And then lastly, the one thing that I wanted to say for our Navi, I don't think I really have to explain this. Weakness implant, defense decrease, you got it, you name it. Obviously Futaba is going to be the Navi in the SS tier. That makes the most sense. So this is the tier list that we're going with here. If you guys want to, of course, let me know down below in the comment section if you agree with it or not. Let me know. But I think the only thing that I would probably swap is putting Haruna down to B tier, and then most likely like maybe considering Yusuke and An, maybe like being one of them being at B's here. I haven't decided just yet because both of them are still steadily being used on global, but Haruna I think is the only one that has like a concrete hit on her back that's probably going to be a B tier. But let me know down below. So then everybody, thank y'all for watching. Peace out.